Welcome to the Win and Wealth podcast. In this interview, we talked to Cody Kerns. He is a social media influencer. He's got a bunch of followers and has been in the social media marketing game for a while. We talked a lot about social media in this episode, as well as some investment stuff, where he places his capital and overall ideas of how to go about business. Tune into the episode. Hope you get some value out of it. All right. Welcome to the pod, Cody Kerns. So we got connected. It's been several years now, originally on Instagram. We started talking and I worked with you through your marketing agency to get me set up on Instagram. That was like probably 4 or 5 years ago now. And that was like before I even knew anything about social media. So I started working with you, learned a lot, and kind of have grown a lot on that platform. And it's been great. And then I actually went down to, you guys did an event a few years ago down in Brickell, Miami. And that was the first time I've been to that part of Miami. And it was super cool. Yeah, it was a super cool event. And that actually was like the kickoff. So last winter, I spent the winter down there. I'm going down there again in Brickell. Like, loved it. We did that yacht day. It was a blast. So we've had some fun interactions and working together. So maybe we start with you kind of going through your story, right? Like, what have you accomplished? When did you get started, and kind of where you're at today? Give everyone some insight on that.
I mean, first off, it's cool to hear how much social media and then coming to an event has kind of changed the trajectory of your career too. A lot of people want such instant gratification with things, and to hear, we met 4 or 5 years ago, which I think is true. I think it was about 4 years ago, where you had no idea about, social media, let alone had been to South Florida or whatever state it is. It doesn't really matter. But to your journey, Florida is relevant. Now all of a sudden you're doing a podcast, which is like the biggest social media thing you could do. You're coming back down here to Miami. So I love to hear that. It's just good to hear that the efforts, right, of 4 or 5 years ago from me on my end could help positively influence you. And of course, it's all within your power, right? Unless you do something and dive into it, it's never going to just magically work. But you're a hustler, man. You take action. It's 99% of it is on you. But that 1%, that I can take some credit for here of like getting you to lean into social media. I've been preaching it since 2015. It is the modern day business card. And, it just amazes me how people will go and spend money like gambling, or they'll go out and party, or they'll go travel, and and then they look back at their brand. It's like, why are you not pouring money into the most important thing, which is your own name, your image, your brand, right? And you can leverage your social media like this online, or you can go and leverage it in person, right? And show people your status. And it's 2024, if people are still kind of like fighting against the, oh, I don't want to be that. No, you should be that guy or girl. Like, you should have a lot of followers. You should have a good looking brand. You should shower and take care of yourself, right? It's like, if you're crushing it in real life, why would you not want that message to relay online?
It seems like you're in a lot of different businesses. You've got a lot of cool shit going on. I was looking up the Kerns Capital side of things, but I don't know a whole lot about like your business. So I think you do social media marketing like agency, and then have parlayed that into different business ventures. So it'd be kind of good to just get like a high level 30,000 foot view of like, what are you all into? What how's your business grown over these past 8 years, where I think that's when you said you started getting really active on social media? Or
Yep. Yeah. 2015. So, high school, middle school was always like a hustler. I love sales, sold gum, sold electronics, went to college for a year and dropped out after a year. I'm just like a product of my environment. So when I was at college, I was just not behaving appropriately because I was surrounded by people that weren't behaving, and I was the sixth guy not behaving. I'm with five guys doing bad things. I'll be the sixth, and I'll try and be the best one. So I just had to remove myself out of that environment. I got involved in network marketing in 2013, which for anyone watching that is a newer entrepreneur, or maybe you're working a job, I don't care if you're 18 or you're 58. I think network marketing is probably the best industry you could join if you're just kind of dabbling to figure out how to get into self-education, how to get around people, how to present a product and service, how to go to events and be around thousands of people that are extremely positive, right? And I think for a lot of people that are stuck or looking for that next thing, you got to look at your environment. Like, that to me is the most important thing in how I started. I completely changed my environment, and I essentially lost every single friend that I thought I had. The moment you change your environment and you want to be like a positive, money type, sales type, business type person, you're going to most likely, and I don't want to set like a scary expectation for people, but it's very, very lonely in the beginning. And the best way to get around other people for me was network marketing. So I did that for about 2 years. Transition, took that sales experience to a corporate job. I landed a $30K a year salary I was 21 years old, maybe. He was crushing it, right? Like you land the corporate job, I was the dropout, and I wanted to do sales so badly for them that I was kind of like stepping over the line in the corporate world. And I got called in the office one day. I landed them a deal to ship a helicopter part with the New York State Police, like pretty good deal. It was a logistics company. And this was like the turning point in my life. And what made me realize, like, never let anyone set limitations on you. They called me in their office and essentially said, hey, you're doing too much. You're actually, what they were saying is you're starting to piss everyone off in this office. And you're going to be a manager for at least 1 to 2 more years. So quit trying to sell. That moment, I made the decision, F this, I'm out. And I applied to be on Grant Cardone's Whatever It Takes show. He accepted me. And April 1st, 2015, I went on that show. I quit the job. I came down to Florida with a few $1,000 in my bank. And I came in 4th place, and he kicked me off, and Grant kicked me off. So I just quit my job. I had like $4,000 in the bank. And I remember April 1st, 2015, the day Grant kicked me off, I just sat there and thought, okay, I got to come up with something now. Like today, that same day, my buddy and I, who's no longer with the company, but we came up with the name iComeUp Marketing. And from 2015 until present, we've done almost 20 million in sales. We've helped somewhere between 4,000 and 5,000 business owners, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, all the way up to plastic surgeons, to just, a college student who wants to grow their audience, brand themselves, create content. We do events, consultations, getting their internal systems put together. And then obviously through working with so many people in marketing, I have ventured into various spaces. I've invested into multiple spaces. And, you meet that many people, I think it'd be silly to not try and monetize those relationships, right? I call it being like a master affiliate, right? If you have 5,000 contacts, and they're all doing different things, why not try and leverage the space they're in or what they're doing to further yourself, your revenues and all of that. So it's like a 50,000 foot view. I love marketing. We were talking earlier, kind of like have tried out a few different industries, and, it always just led me right back to marketing. I love personal branding and doing stuff like this. So hope that gives a little bit of an overview. And I did not come from money. I think a lot of people online that see my brand have a misconception, right? Like daddy's money or this and that. My dad left my life when I was 9. My mom worked from 3 to 11 p.m. as long as I can remember. And we actually lived with my grandparents for many years. My grandpa's like the stud of the family. He always took care of us. So everything is self-made. I've never had like a father figure mentor. I've always had to figure shit out, which sometimes goes bad, when you need that voice of reason. But, for the most part, it's worked out. So I think that's important too. There's no excuses for anyone, I don't care if you're poverty. I didn't come from nothing, right? Like I was middle class. My grandpa did well, but, not well enough to sustain and launch my career, if that makes sense. So
for sure. Yeah, no, I agree. I think it certainly makes the story even better when you start with nothing, right? I think it doesn't hurt to have that support if you have someone in your family that has money, but it's like if you can start from nothing, the story is even greater. So when you left that corporate job, did you already have a business up and running that you were doing on the side that was already generating revenue, or was it just like, fuck it, I'm done, I'm going to be an entrepreneur?
I was said, fuck it. I'm like, all right, I've saved 5,000 at that point because I was living at home with my mom and my grandparents. We all lived together, and I looked in the bank. I had $5 or $6 grand. I'm like, I'm going to just send it to South Florida. I waited to keep the job as long as I could, and then told them a week before I was leaving, like, hey, do you guys mind if I go down to Florida for an interview? And they didn't take well. So then I had to quit. And no, I full sent it. There was no plan B. I mean, I always could go back and live in the basement with my grandpa and my mom, but some people aren't even that fortunate. So I guess it just depends your circumstances. But yeah, there was no plan B. I didn't have any money. I just saved money. And then I said, I'm going to send it. What's the worst thing that happens,
And how old were you at that time in 2015?
20, I think I was 21.
Okay.
21.
So then you went straight into iComeUp was the first business. So then you launched that.
The day, I'm not kidding, the day Grant kicked us off, we came up with the name iComeUp Marketing. The same day, April 1st, 2015. That's like the business. So yeah, I'm coming up on 9 years this April.
Very
Nice.
cool.
And did you already have a personal brand built at that time, or were you you were just starting at that time as well with that?
Dude, nothing. Our original idea was, okay, this Instagram and Facebook thing is here to stay. So why don't we go into Instagram and let's figure out a plan for people who are looking for other people? How do we get them connected? Like if I'm in Miami and I need a barber, how can I help that barber find the people looking for him? That was the original thought. And then we got into doing followers, and then we started doing outbound messaging for accounts. The first account I used to charge $50 a month. I mean, it was nothing.
To manage their social media as a client, I would come to you and say, here's the passwords to all my shit, like LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever, right? And you'd manage that. Is that kind of what you guys do?
Yeah. Now, when we first started though, it was like, hey, send me $50 and I'll get you thousands of followers a month anywhere you want. If you want people local, we would go on Instagram, use the search tools, and then find that audience they were looking for. I would do outbound messages. So let's say you guys wanted leads for your barbershop. I would send out hundreds of messages from that person's account to people I knew were living in the city around them, and we'd get people business. And yeah, I was severely undercharging, but that allowed me to I got hundreds of customers. I started building a team, and then all those customers started referring people. And now instead of $50 a month, obviously we're able to charge a lot more. And social media has also become a lot more expensive. But yeah, for example, our perfect business or entrepreneur is someone that has something going, right? We work with new entrepreneurs, but a lot of times those people will end up we want to try and affiliate them with us, because if they're looking for a product or service to sell, we can help them build their brand, which goes in perfect alignment with selling our branding services. But for example, someone like you guys, I want to run your ads. I want to do lead campaigns with you guys. I want to come up with your creatives. I want to do your video editing. We want to be posting for you on your socials. I mean, we're like a full scale agency, really capable of doing anything digitally that you guys need done.
I love it, man. And you hear a lot about, you said a lot of good stuff in there just about, we do this, I think we've been doing this for 6 months or so now. Mm-hmm. And we interview people, and it's the same thing, right? There's a lot of common themes, kind of burn the boats, right? You went down there and said, fuck it, I'm gonna make it happen one way or another, whether it's with Grant's show or just coming up with this idea. And then the other part is, if you're looking for something to do and you're young and you're a hustler and you're trying to figure out which business to get in, there is so many small businesses out there that really haven't figured out how to adopt social media, right? So, and a lot of it's baby boomers. It also presents a really good opportunity to buy these companies, right? When baby boomers are retiring, and you're looking at I look at different businesses to potentially buy as well, and you see these ones that have not even, maybe they dabble a little bit on Instagram, right? They might have, they have an Instagram, but they don't do anything with it really. And if say the business is doing $1 million a year, and they have a existing client base, and they literally do no social media marketing, it's like ding, ding, ding. That's a great opportunity to purchase that business and add some sort of rocket fuel to it. So I totally agree with your approach of getting really good at marketing, and then figuring out how to be I think you said master affiliate. And
exactly,
I love it, man.
Yeah, the social media stuff, I still believe people don't fully understand that every human and customer has a cell phone, okay? And they have social media profiles. It's not just a follower, or they're not in my target audience. Your entire purpose of growing a business is getting in front of more people. Let your products and services speak for themselves. It's your job as the business owner to convince that individual why they should buy your product, come into your physical location or service, right? So you got to understand, and people have to understand, every account or follower or profile is a real human being on the other end of it, okay? So you just have to do your job of making sure that your content looks good. And that's why we pitch what we pitch and why we believe people should work with us, you know?
So I feel like of course, like our generation understands like social media is where you need to be, right, for marketing. What about like the hurdle? I know like for me specifically, when I started, like I decided, okay, I'm going to start posting, more content, try to create a personal brand to generate business. The first time I did like a selfie video, right, I was just like, shit, I can't post that. Like I look like an idiot, right? I was like so nervous. What like advice, I guess, would you have for someone that's like deciding, okay, listen to this podcast, like I got to do it, right? This is what my business needs to overcome that, right? And like, what steps should they take to decide to launch and get into social media?
It just starts with your environment again, because some of the biggest objections we get, is people convincing themselves why they really shouldn't be on social media. Okay. And that stems from their environment, because they're worried about what their environment is going to say or think about them. Every single time, that's what it comes down to, unless it's a monetary issue. But for the people who are not really on social media but want to advertise, it's kind of like an oxymoron. How is that going to work? How are you going to advertise if you don't want to be on social media? Which then stems back to they are self-conscious or worried about what their friends, family, existing customers are going to think about them. And one thing I've learned is that all attention is good within reason. Obviously, you don't want like horrific news about you, but everyone's going to have an opinion. Everyone's going to either think your product is amazing or stinks. Those are the only reviews that exist. This guy is top notch, love working with him, or he was crap, it was a scam. This is all, you get two polarizing views. I want all of them. I want people talking about me. So if I can do something simple as I'm posting a video and growing my followers, that's going to piss off a lot of people around me, of them saying, you see Cody getting all those fake followers on his account? Well, I know they're talking about me now. So the more people's heads that I can get in, the more of a better job that I'm doing advertising, right? That's the entire goal of advertising. Look at every huge figure that crushes it on advertising on social media. They all are so polarizing that you either love them or you hate them. But you have to, as a business owner, understand you have to be a polarizing figure, and you're not going to please everybody. And most people around you will make fun of you. They will make subtle comments. They will throw digs at you of, oh, you see Brock posted on his social media. Yeah, what does he think now? He's famous or something? I like all that. I've kind of figured out how to translate that into fuel for me to be like, yeah, and keep watching. Like, keep watching. You're watching the show. You message me every 3 weeks behind the scenes, trying to make fun of me or digging me. That's cool. I'm going to keep winning, right? And I think I picked that up from Cardone, to be honest. He is the best at just taking all and any noise and attention and saying, it's good, because the more people that know my name, the higher chances I have of getting a new customer. And that's ultimately the end goal, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I know, like when I first started, it was the first couple people that were hating. It was like, you got in your head so much about it. Now it's like, we were talking about this a couple weeks ago, where it's like I posted something and people were talking about it like it's good. I feel like the more haters you get, right, means you're doing something right. And I agree, like the polarizing stuff's super interesting, right? If you look at like Andrew Tate or like Cardone does it a lot, right? It's like it's very polarizing stuff, but it catches your attention, right? If it's like bland content, a lot of times I feel like that doesn't catch your attention. It's super interesting how, whether the algorithm or catching people's attention works.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole game of advertising. It's like advertising equals attention. The more attention you can get, the better the advertising is going.
100%. I agree.
It's such a simple recipe for advertising, and everyone has different products. I don't care if you sell roofing tile or you're a dentist or you sell services online. You have to be entertaining, right? And you have to be willing to put your face out there. Or look, you can still be successful too without social media. I'm not saying it's end all be all, but if you want to advertise, you have to get over that hurdle. Some people, there's billionaires, millionaires, low key, old money, new money that is not on social media. God bless. There's not one single thing that works. But if you are looking to brand yourself or you're looking to advertise, you got to be okay with it.
Absolutely. So on that topic, so there's obviously different platforms, right? And there's different strategies for different platforms. Let's talk about Instagram specifically. In my mind, what really tends to sell on Instagram, right, is lifestyle, right? So if you are showing you're living a cool lifestyle, right, it draws people in, generally to consume more of your content. So what's your thoughts on, like, and if people go and check your kit page, right, you got the cool cars, you post a lot of cool stuff. Where do you think the balance is with that, right? Or like you should post more lifestyle stuff and kind of use that as an edge to bring people in.
Yeah, I feel like there's a balance. We've kind of put it into 3 buckets, and this is what we advise to our clients, is that the 3 buckets, right? You have your personal life, your professional life, and your hobbies. So it's just those 3. If your hobby is to have nice things, it really should only be about 1/3 of your brand. If you're a real estate agent, though, I don't want to see every post be a new listing that you have. I want to know who you are as an individual. So your professional side, to me, is only 1/3 as well, whereas your personal life and your hobbies are 2/3. That shows people who you are and what you like to do. And social media is a peer-to-peer platform, right? It's not a B2B, it's peer-to-peer. So for me to trust someone, or for you to trust someone, for you to buy from someone or engage with them or meet them or have them at your event, I want to know a little bit about that individual. Like, are they married? Do they have kids? Do they ski? Do they skate? Do they have cars? Do they go to rallies? Like, who are they? And then maybe I can connect with them better if we have similarities. But if you're just a business person, or you're only showing off your shit all the time, you're not going to be relatable to a bigger audience. You're kind of like confining who is going to relate to you, because if all you do is show cool stuff, you're kind of going to attract maybe not the audience that you're looking to. Whereas if you only post your new listings, everyone's just going to think this person's annoying and they're not branding themselves well, right? So you got to have that fine line and that balance of like going back and forth of like, here's an offer, and then, oh, here's me with my family and my kids. And then, oh, here I'm, skiing. And then, oh, I'm back with an offer. And then I'm over here, at a car meet or whatever it is,
That's a good perspective. The third thing. I love that.
So when it comes to the offer side, right? So yeah, I like that framework. That makes a lot of sense. So you're coming to your post of, okay, I'm going to create an offer here and I'm going to try to draw people in that have been following now. What strategy, I guess, do you follow with that, right? Like, is there a specific framework you follow when you're pitching something on social media?
It really just depends, right? Like, it depends on what's your business. That's a loaded question. I don't think I'm able to give like a concrete, unless you give me an exact example of, or like a real life scenario, because every single person, business's approach is going to be entirely different. I will say, if you're contemplating of, do I run all this stuff through a business or an individual? Always the individual. It's kind of like not answering your question directly, but people will ask, oh, should I do my business account? I own a firm or a practice. No, people are going to work with you as the individual, and then we can relate and connect you better with the potential customers. But as far as like outbound and the messaging and the wording and the creative and the video and the ads, it's all per customer, And for a small fee of $2,995, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
No, I think there's a ton. I mean, it's complicated, right? I mean, and it's competitive, right? To build a following and generate revenue online. I mean, it certainly takes some work, right? So I think, working with someone or educating yourself is super critical. I mean, I still got so much further to go, right, on the social media stuff, but
we always do. And you just said it, working with people who can help expedite the process. Again, no matter where you're at in your career, I think 18 to 30, 35-year-olds, especially, kind of in our generation, they have a really hard time. Everyone all of a sudden wants to be their own boss. Everyone knows fucking everything. Everyone can just go on Google or Chat GPT and think they're the PhD of their space. The reality is, you will go so much further and faster partnering up with people or finding somebody that you want to emulate or teaming up than you will just trying to do everything yourself, And it's such like a common tacky phrase, yet I still see so many entrepreneurs like embracing the struggle and the grind. It's like, dog, we're not doing this to grind and struggle. Like, you want freedom, you want peace of mind, you want to make money. You can do that faster and easier by partnering with the right people, and that's another thing, is like embracing the grind and the struggle. That's not cool. Like, you might be better off actually going and getting a W-2 than like grinding your ass off, becoming essentially like imprisoned to your own business, right? Or your own entrepreneurship journey. I would much rather go and work and team up with somebody, some sort of company or entity. Again, depending if I want to be a car salesman, I'm going to go try and work at Ferrari or Lambo. I want the top dealers, right? If I'm in the service business, I'm going to go try and work, with Grant or PBD or Milet or Gary Vee or one of these guys. If I'm in the roofing business, so on and so forth, right? You get what I'm saying. And not with the intention of like going and undercutting those people, but I can learn and save years and decades of knowledge, expertise, money by teaming up with the right individual with the right intentions of doing so,
I think that, it makes a lot of sense, especially, in our real estate business, same thing, right? I mean, partnering, you want to be able to leverage partners. I think, I don't know if I've said this on the podcast before, but it's like an old saying or whatever, but it's essentially around like, if you have like two horses pulling together, wagon or whatever the hell, right? They can pull 10x their strength. So it's not just like two, like you got one horse pulling, then you add another horse, right? And it intuitively you think it should just be.
It's multiples. It's multiple times strong.
Exponentially.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that translates well.
Yeah, I agree. And slightly different topic, but on that, we like the whole online business, right? So our main business is we do real estate syndications. We're pivoting that into a fund right now, but that's our main business, right? Is real estate investing. But we also have our license as agents. We do some stuff online. Like I do an online coaching program. We were talking about this the other day where it's like a path of, being like a commercial real estate broker or building an online business. And I think to me, one of the sexy parts about creating an online business is you can really automate things, right? And you can be on vacation in another country, right? And post a video and put a couple posts out there and generate 20K in revenue sitting in a chair, right? Whereas a lot of other things like, for example, real estate brokerage, you got to be there, right? You got to be cold calling, you got to be at the properties, you got to be showing them. So I think it certainly can depend on like, there's a lot more lifestyle components to an online business.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like you don't necessarily want to make up or fake your lifestyle on social media, but you have to be intentional about capturing the cool moments. Like that's what it is. Social media is a fucking highlight reel. Like it's a highlight reel of your life and you get to share it and show people what you're doing. And, it just depends on what someone's goal is. If you really want to stand out, you have to be more and more polarizing and you have to be really comfortable with knowing there's going to be backlash the more polarizing and the more aggressive you get with your marketing.
For sure.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind, let's dive into the business a little bit. You said 20 million in sales, right? Revenue over the last 8 years or so. And then you've built a team around that. How big's your company? How many people you got working for you? What are the margins on a service business like that?
I mean, margins are pretty good. Just depending. It's funny, as we actually go up in our packages, the margins get smaller, but the top line is bigger, So, I mean, margins are great. I love the marketing business. Half of it is your time. And then, the other half is actually fulfilling those services, paying an ads manager, just handling the expenses. As far as the revenues go, I mean, we started, I track, I'm like religious with tracking. And that's another thing too. Like I carry around a notebook that every single day, I don't want to like show too close, but I'll just show you blank pages. So I have every week I start 2 new pages. So this whole right page is going to be like my leads and people that I have conversations with. I just think there's like a huge power to writing. Some people are electronic, but pen to paper, pencil to paper is like, it almost creates magic and brings it to life. And that's in an audio called Your Wish is Your Command, which is incredible if you have not listened to that. But so I go through and, I've tracked since day one. Our first year in revenue, we did, I'm going to pull it up right here. I have it all in my notes. We're like sales board, sales leaders. That's something I've always I try and gamify the business, right? To make it fun for me, because as the owner, I want to be number one on the board every month. And then get the guys below you motivated. But yeah, our first calendar year, we did 130K in revenue. Then we went to 1.25 million. then we went to 1.7, then we went to 3.2, then we went to 5, then we went to 8, and then it went up like exponentially from there. So, you know, that's because I took the marketing, I took those resources, those assets. I started getting into things like real estate. I'm involved in a bunch of multifamily, single family homes. I don't really talk about it just because I don't have a way to monetize it. It's more like personal investment choices. I like to take big swings and home runs. Like I lost so much money in crypto that people, you know, over here are crying about losing like 50K, 100K, 10K. It's like, okay, multiply that by many more times. That's just what I lost last year. So I think, you know, as an entrepreneur too, we have a choice every day, every quarter, every year to say, okay, am I going to focus on like the losses or am I going to focus on the wins? Am I going to focus and try and control things that are out of my control, or am I going to focus on what I can control? Am I going to look at this as one of the most painful lessons of my life, or am I going to look at this as, you know, this is destroying me and I'm wrecked? It's all perspective. And yeah, the other year I lost a lot in crypto, like a lot. I was the epitome of buy high, sell low. And you know, learning lessons there and some other businesses that, you know, will like shake you to your core. But at the same time, as an entrepreneur, who are you going to go cry to? You're going to go seek attention from everyone complaining about your fucking problems? Like, no, you should never over leverage yourself. Be fucking responsible with your investing in your money. And I don't care if you invest in something or do this. We're all adults. Like anything you invest, you have to be fully willing to never see that money ever again. The bigger the swings you're going for, the higher probability that that may not return, you know? So, and that's really in any investment. I don't care if it's real estate, if it's cryptos, if it's altcoins, if it's, you know, you're trading, it's all a risk. And I think the amateur investor thinks everything goes perfect, whereas the experienced investor knows when they deploy what can go wrong and what's my worst case here, and can I survive if it does go worst case? And that's on you as an individual to properly plan the investing. So yeah, I love very, you know, conservative investments, but I also love taking fucking slugger grand slams, because if you get 1 out of 10 of those, it'll turn a profit, you know?
Yeah, I think it's important, you know, just sort of way to think about your portfolio, where you have some portion of that in stable, predictable, cash flowing things, or just in, you know, in bonds or ETFs, and then you have a portion of that you can allocate towards home runs.
I feel like I go back and forth on like the diversification versus like only investing in what you really know. I mean, right now, like I think I checked the other day, like over 90% of my net worth is in real estate.
For sure.
Right. And I go back and forth on the diversification approach and also just like investing in, I know real estate, right? I'm confident in making money there. So I put all my resources there. It's like, sometimes I go back and forth. I think once you get to a certain level of wealth, it makes sense to diversify.
Then you diversify. Yeah. Basically, you're supposed to build a business, accumulate, you know, a certain portion of wealth, and then figure out how to build a portfolio that allows you to continue to do your business and diversify into other things that are maybe a little bit more stable.
Right. Ultimately, isn't it to build a basis so that if you were to leave, you have enough to at least pay a rent or a mortgage bill somewhere? Like, I want to know at the end of the day, all this work I'm putting in, I could leave and I've built enough resource, you know, passive income. I fucking hate that word, because everyone now in the space uses it. So for my passive income, no, bro, that's earned income. If you left your business, it's going to fucking zero. Stop sitting here lying to everybody, right? Like true passive income, it's bond income, it's stock income, equities. It's having money in private firms that are paying, you know, 6 to 10% a year, right? Like that's real true passive income. I could go to a third world country and every month I'm getting that mailbox money, right? Big difference of true passive income versus passive income.
I hate that too. Yeah. It's crazy.
A lot of real estate people, even if they have a property manager, like you still, I think like investing in, like, you know, we're syndicated
as an LP.
Investing as an LP, whether it's in real estate or whatever avenue, right? Like to me, that's passive, but buying a property or having a property manager, that's not passive.
No,
it's still involved.
Still super active at managing the asset. Yeah. So one thing, I follow this group. I'm not a part of it. I wish, but I gotta level up my game a bit. But Tiger 21, I think it's this like sort of mastermind networking group. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but they have a lot of great kind of newsletters and content or stuff, but it's for, very, very wealthy people. I think the requirements are you have to have $10 million in investable assets, excluding your primary residence. So there's big dogs in that group. But one of the last newsletters that they had was basically the relationship between being an entrepreneur and being an investor. And sometimes, actually very rarely, are people really good at both. And so would you consider yourself a better entrepreneur or a better investor?
Probably a better entrepreneur.
Yeah.
That's good too. I like that because I think it is true. It's how I would consider myself a better entrepreneur. I thrive in executing on tasks that need to be done. I'm like I have to pencil out and complete the task, And you were just talking about ultra wealthy, right? Like 10 million investable. That's ultra wealthy. I have a graphic here. So this is ultra high net worth individuals, net worth of 30 million plus, right? And this is how they invest. This is a sample size.
Is this Visual Capitalist or no? Is that where the chart's from?
Yeah, you saw that, right?
Yeah, I love that one too. But anyway, so I was just reading that, and it's funny that you brought it up, but not to throw you off.
I was going to bring it up, and then you just were talking about ultra wealthy. I'm like, okay, this is perfect. So Brock, you're saying, 90% of your net worth is in real estate. Ultra wealthy, 32% of their money is in primary or secondary homes. And, you have someone like Cardone who is preaching never buy a home. And let's be honest, I love his game. I love his hustle because what he's saying is don't buy a home, give me your money and invest it into my fund. Because most people can't afford to buy a home and invest into his fund. So his whole sales pitch it's genius. But yet you look at him and he owns $60 million in primary homes. He's got a place in Malibu and he's got a place in Golden Beach, about $60-70 million worth of one primary and one secondary, 2 homes, $60-80 million. Okay. You gotta pay attention to what people do, not what they're saying. So all these high net worth guys, they put majority of their money, 1 out of every $3, into their own homes. Average person at $30 million net worth, they own 4 homes on average. Not 4 Airbnbs, not 4 commercial properties, 4 fucking homes that they enjoy for themselves because they know when they buy that home, they take a mortgage on it, they pay it down or they buy it in cash. It's like a vault. You guys know this. You're in the game. You put the money in, real estate's going to slowly go up. You have a vault that if you need to sell it, you always have access to that capital. And then commercial property, commercial REITs, all that is 14, 15%. So it's like, Brock, you might be way too over leveraged in real estate.
It is high. Yeah. I've thought about kind of switching some stuff up and getting involved in more, but that's interesting. The 4 homes for 30 million. Yeah. I wouldn't to guess that.
But the thing is too, is just they had to have a business or potentially just family money, but they had to be able to acquire that level of wealth. And at that point, I think it makes a lot more sense to diversify versus when you're coming up, right? When we're on the come up, being a lot more laser focused on what it is that you can do to generate wealth.
Yeah, you have to be an entrepreneur to get the wealth, right? And I think for most people, actually, besides until you have like $100,000 where it's free and clear, like post-tax, you really have no money. And even with $100,000, it's not really anything. Until you're to 100K, all your money should be going back into yourself, your business, your brand, your lead flow. And then once you start pushing up in the 6 figures of savings, start to diversify. I think for most people, the reality is, just speaking statistics, most people are not going to be worth $30 million. So one of the best investments they can make beyond their business is a primary residence. I fully think that's one of the best investments because I know for me, peace of mind and having a roof over my head in an environment that every day I can wake up in and be excited about, I will spend a lot of my earned income to make sure that I have a comfortable high end as I can make it. I don't care if I'm making 50K or 5 million a year. I'm going to make it a very comfortable environment that I'm excited to wake up in and build a family in and be in, right? So A primary, to me, it's so important. I know some guys are like rent. Okay, go pay down someone else's mortgage, have zero control over your life. You want to you want a wife and kids? Okay, dude, good luck while you're fucking bouncing around your 12-month leases. Like, it's child's play to me. It's like, to be a man, you need to buy a fucking home. You need to have a successful business, and you need to have foundation. Like, I promise you, women, as they get older, they don't want to be moving every 12 months into the next apartment with the bayfront view. Like, they want a home, they want stability, and they want protection. Like, they want comfort, right? So I love single family homes. For me, they've been some of the best investments that I've made as well, as far as money goes. But if you exclude the money and say your home will make you no money, but you'll get every dollar you put in out if you want to sell it in 5 to 10 years, I'm cool with that. I'm so cool with that. I'll pay down the asset. I'm building equity in something that I can always refinance or sell and go to the next. And I have comfort. I don't have to wake up and worry about like where I'm going, you know? So that's a big realization I've had over this last year is home being like the most important thing for me.
I kind of follow your thought process there too. I do see both ends of it and I have multiple homes. The thing that I like about rent when you're on the come up, right? If you're just trying to do it and you're not really thinking about like investing and trying to, meet someone or build a family or whatever, right? The thing is, it's just super low maintenance. So like, you get a big house, you got a lot of shit that goes wrong. You got to deal with it. So that can sort of take your attention off of the business. Now, I do agree with you. First of all, it's the people that say like a house is not an asset that's totally wrong. It's definitely an asset. It'll go up in value over time. And so you're going to build equity as it appreciates. You're going to pay down the debt. You're going to have just that overall sense of, and I have a weird situation going on. So I was living in the same apartment building that Brock lives in, which is a really nice building, super nice amenities and all that. And it's great. I just moved back into my condo and that I've owned for a long time, which has come with more maintenance issues, but it's come with a lot more peace of mind. It's come with, just a space that, it's just a little bit better for, sort of my lifestyle. And I do agree, especially once you have a family, right? You want to be able to have somewhere that like, if you're going to, especially nowadays that people work from home a lot or your hybrid work or whatever, right? I think today you said you're at home, like you want to have a nice fucking spot that you do so much of your life at your house, right? Even if you're out grinding, right? And you're busy, you're still spending 8, 10, 12 hours a day sleeping and then, doing whatever you're doing at your home. And if you have a family, right, that's like the place that you want to raise your kids. So you want to build it into the environment that you have. And then, the plus side of that too is the more, what I've found over time, and I'm looking at renovating my condo right now. My house is brand new, so that doesn't really need any renovations or anything. But the condo, it's like the more money that I put into it, the more, if I do want to sell it down the road, and I don't know if I ever will, like it's just going to appreciate in value. So not only do I get to enjoy the new kitchen, the new bathroom, whatever, right, and put my own little dope spin on it, it's also going to appreciate in value and theoretically build your balance sheet and your net worth.
Right. And I want to make it clear, I'm not saying living in an apartment is a bad idea. I agree that, of course, if you're on the come up and you don't have, 100, 200, 300K saved, yes, you should be renting, right? But you should be renting with the goal in mind of what's the next step for me, right? Like, what is the target? What is the goal? Based off of your income, how long is it going to take you to go and buy a condo or a townhouse or a home? I'm saying it more in the ownership aspect. I want to personally own things. I want to control the asset. I know this whole thing too of control nothing, right? Like, okay, that's fine. Maybe that's just something billionaires have made up to keep everyone, acting like a peasant out here. Like, I'm going to own nothing. Like, oh, what a good motive to have. Meanwhile, BlackRock and all these guys are buying up every single asset so that you stay in the mindset of, I'm going to own nothing. I'm going to rent and just lease my whole life, right? Like, that's what they want you to think. That's the narrative big corp pushes. No, I want to own. I want to control. I don't care if it's a 1 bedroom or if it's a 5 bedroom, 10 bathroom house, wherever you're at and what level you're at. I agree renting is good in the beginning for sure. But once you start stacking some money, if you're 25, 30, 35, 40, depending on how long it takes you, to me, your first big chunk of money, $50,000, $100,000 after your business is going and you've made those investments and you can continue making those investments. For me, it's going to be a primary home. And I think, some people might not agree, but I'd rather own a primary than give it to a multifamily fund and get 5-6% a year. Like, it's going to take me 50 years to get my money back at that rate. So I'd rather just own my own asset, enjoy the asset, and know my money is in my control in that asset.
Yeah. I love that you brought it up, man. We were talking about being polarizing. That's a great topic, and it comes up in real estate quite a bit. And I can see both sides of the coin for sure. I think it matters around, the individual and someone's circumstances and where they're at, on their journey. But you make a lot of great points, and I do tend to agree with you more. Just going through a few things over the last few years and having to really think about that, I feel you.
Yeah, it's just, again, it's a personal choice, but if I'm an entrepreneur and I've done well and I've saved money and I can have a comfort level of money always churning, like, okay, my business is growing, I'm doing it, but now I have like a surplus of capital. I have a surplus of capital, real estate, first investment, by far, for sure. Do not give up your capital. Put it in real estate, right? Like, put it into real estate all day.
Amen to that.
I would say, and then we'll transition here to the last part, but my rationale behind renting, I've rented now for a while, is
he's salty about it now. He's now he had to come back to it.
Well, lifestyle component, right? Like, so I'm single, I'm living downtown, I'm gonna go down to Miami for the winter. I'm kind of moving around, right? Like, I don't really know where I want to set up shop yet, where I'm gonna kind of plan to stay for a few years. So I think I agree with, once it's kind of like, hey, I'm gonna set up shop here, I'm gonna be here for the next couple of years. That makes sense. But I guess for me, I've just been kind of moving around and not necessarily sure like where I want to settle down yet. So I do think that I certainly agree with what you're saying, but I think there also could be benefits to the renting.
Right. But even still, like, where you're at in your journey. Like, you don't have a wife, you don't have kids. So, okay, now is the time to figure out. If you don't even know where you want to put your roots, well, then of course you shouldn't buy anything, So it's all with a grain of salt. I'm talking about most people, right? They're in a town. They're not going to just like move around the country. Like, most people are in a city they grew up in, they're working there, or they graduated college and stayed there. I think majority of the audience, is pretty fixated. I know some people are like moving around and bouncing around like you, Brock, but most people are like fixed and they want to root and they want to grow in their community, and it's where their family lives. Some psychos like us will like bounce around the whole country to figure that out. And then, just like the Alchemist, you're going to land right back where you started, because that's just how it fucking goes every time. You're going to go back to where it all started and plant the roots. But of course, flexible lifestyle, Airbnb, leases, like, yeah, man, that's just where you're at in your journey. That though. There isn't this like, you're not using it or like double-siding yourself of, well, I want to do this, but no, you're like, that's where I'm at. That's what I'm doing. And then I know when I find my spot, then I'll root down.
I love it. Sure. So you brought up one of my favorite books. I think I've talked about it on the pod before, but we talked about it a little bit before we started recording. But so talk to us about The Alchemist and how it relates to your life and your journey.
Yeah, I mean, I created a beautiful company in 2015. And, after 6-7 years of it, you just get in a routine and you take things for granted, right? Like, anytime you've had something for a long time, you start to, the effect just kind of dulls down, right? And we as humans are always like, what's next? Or, you start to play the comparison game. And I think, over the last 2 years, I started playing the comparison game way too much. Like, instead of just focusing on my lane, I started looking at what everyone else was doing, because on social media, everyone's a millionaire, everyone's a billionaire, everyone's crushing it, everything looks great. I started to trust people other than myself and trust in, things that it wasn't just me. I was now partnering and affiliating with other people, right? And, most times when you start to trust other people, you're just kind of loosening your ability to be in full control. So without getting into like too much detail, I just think, the last 2 years I've tried out various spaces, different industries, did not go that great and smooth. And in the meantime of all that, I abandoned my thing and I lost who I was, which is the Instagram guy. Like, I'm the Instagram marketing guy. And I started trying to be what other people were being. And again, it never lined up, right? It didn't really work out long term. And I found myself kind of like just searching around. I felt like a sixth man, if that makes sense. Like, I'm the sixth man just looking for a squad to attach to. And it's like, wait a second, I am the fucking captain. I am the coach, you know? And it took me about 2 years, the last 2.5 years, to finally come back and say, you know, no matter of a dollar amount or this and that, like, I want to help people. I don't want to be in the game simply to make money, and have to find a new opportunity here and there every 6, 12, 18, 2, 3 years. I want to ground. And I was there and I was doing that, took it for granted, and I'm here, I'm back here. And, it feels great. You know, we relaunched like a revamped marketing company less than 2 weeks ago. We have almost 300 leads in. My social media is like engaging again. It feels so in alignment, you know, and for years I was kind of like fighting to try and be this guy that I don't want to say I'm not, but I think you have to always try things and experience things. And it's easier than, you know, when you experience them to come back and say, okay, that's not what I want to do. That's not who I am. And this is where I want to be. This is the field I want to excel in. This is the service and offering that I want to provide to the marketplace, you know? And, in the process of trying and doing a lot of things, again, you're going to get pounded for sure. Like, you got to be willing to go through some expensive lessons. And, you know, I would just say to avoid those lessons, just stick, you know, mostly to your lane. Like, you got to stay in your lane. I swayed out of my lane, and I definitely took an ass whooping for sure, and still kind of am. And yeah, I think just staying grounded in your lane, focusing on what you know best is the best piece of advice that I can give.
Yeah, I completely agree there. And I've learned some of those less expensive lessons myself, brother. So I totally feel you. And I think that's common, right? When people are in business, especially they're highly ambitious, they're making money, right? Like, it's easy to, you know, the shiny ball syndrome for all entrepreneurs that go out there. I mean, I deal with it all the time. And I think it's one of the easiest ways for people to really falter. And so it is constantly just, I always say to myself, keep the main thing, right? Like, just, you know, figure out what the main thing is, what your strategy is, and then, you know, keep that going, and you're going to get more compounding, you know, equity sort of buildup within your main thing. And that sort of just compounds and compounds and compounds versus, you know, I'm going to add this or this or this. And then before you know it, you're stretched so thin, you're overwhelmed, you're not really sure. And you're kind of operating from a place of like, you know, fear, and operating from a place of like stress, right? Versus like, I'm in this, you know, I'm keeping the main thing, I'm doing my thing. And you can, as it starts to build and compound, then you can get into like what they call like the flow states, right? And you're just fucking hitting. Things are working. You're jumping on calls, sales calls or whatever. You're closing people down, ringing the bell, you know, and you're fired up, right? Like, so totally agree with you there, man. You've had a lot of great points, Brock. I don't know. What did you say? We're probably...
Yeah, we'll wrap it out here. I would say closing question, like, what's 2024 got in store for you? What's the number one thing you're working on in 2024?
Yeah, I want to help 5,000. When I say business owners, I don't care if it's a solopreneur with an idea or somebody with $1 billion company. I want to help 5,000 business owners get the blueprint that we put out. It's like a free 40-page document on how you can do everything, or someone in your company can fully manage and do all of the things that we do, most of them on your social media, for free. So I want to get that PDF sent out to 5,000 people this year. Obviously, I know if I can reach 5,000 people that are interested, we will get clientele from that. You know, I've been fortunate over the last 10 years to do well. And when I was really early in my career, all the excess earnings that I made, I invested all of them, you know? And for people that are just following me now, or, within the last 6 months or a year, it ain't nothing new. Like, I say this with all respect, but like, I've been doing well for about a decade, and I thank God, and I'm happy and I'm grateful that I've been fortunate, and I just a little bit of luck, getting involved in the social media space at the right time. But I was so disciplined the first 5 years with every extra dollar, investing it and placing it into hard assets, into multifamily funds, into real estate. I was not ballsy with my money in the first 5 years. I was very diligent. I wanted it to be stored. I wanted it to be safe. And I wanted to always have a reserve. And then in the meantime, drive sick cars. I've been driving Lamborghinis for the last 7 years. I love exotic cars. Some advice on that is you should probably lease the exotic, get some equity down, lease it, so then you can write it off as a marketing tool rather than like, yo, I got the pink slip. It's like, cool, you have a pink slip, and now you can't really fucking deduct it because you're going to write off $350,000 on your, like, okay, good luck, right? Whereas if you have a lease payment, you can write that off. And I'm not giving tax advice whatsoever, but there's ways to play the game and have fun without having to like break your bank or, whatever. So I love to have fun. I've been diligent. I invest a lot into multiple different spaces, but real estate for me is definitely the best spot. And if you don't know who to invest with, or you don't trust anybody, just buy your own single family and live in it, right? Like that's where I was kind of going. If you have a good network, you have resources like guys like you, or you want to put money in a big fund like Cardone's and get 6-7% a year, like, dude, my first almost $1 million that I saved went to Cardone, and I still get paid to this month. Like true passive income, Class A units in 10, 20 years. Hopefully they sell, we'll refi, get some money back. That's a decision that I made so long ago, early in my career, that will pay me now for the rest of my life. So
amen to that, man. Yeah, a lot of good bombs in there.
Yeah. So where can people, they want to get that PDF, where can people get in touch with you? What's the best way for people to follow along?
Instagram for sure. Cody Kerns 5.
Cody Kerns 5. All right.
Love it, man. Well, hey, great to meet you. Thank you again for joining us. When Brock's down in Miami, I'm going to visit him. So would love to link up if it works out. But good to meet you, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys.
All right, that's a wrap. We just had Cody Kerns on. It was an awesome episode of the Winning Wealth podcast. He talked a lot of things about mindset, getting around the right people and changing your environment, building his business. He's doing great things on social media. I learned a ton. If you guys found value in it, please like, share, subscribe, and smash the like button, actually. Don't just like it. And that's a wrap. We'll see you next time. Thank you.